made my father take me to Sports Car Club of America races, and I started seeing Bugattis. And although I saw lots of other cars, there's nothing like a Bugatti. There wasn't in the past, and there certainly, isn't today. The combination of artistry and engineering, I just think has never been duplicated. I think certainly the Atlantic, they built four. Ralph Lauren owns one. The late Peter Mullen and Rob Walton own a second. A third of the four cars ever built is owned by a gentleman in Spain, and it was hit by a train, and it's been largely rebuilt. And then the fourth one disappeared. So there's magic and mystery, but that car was one of the Atlantic was certainly one of the top sports cars of the 1930s. It had almost Jules Verne-like looks with the riveted piece aluminum fenders and line down the body. It was a high performance car, and of course everything about it was just beautiful. You can look at any angle of that car and be entranced with what you see. I think this is what happened because you had artists who were engineers. And it usually doesn't go the other way. But Ettore Bugatti wanted to be an artist. That was his initial idea. His father, Carlo, as you know, built Art Nouveau furniture and very successfully. But Ettore's younger brother's name was Rembrandt. Now, name your kid Rembrandt. No pressure here, right? Rembrandt became a fabulous sculptor of in bronze. He did animals that looked as though they moved, even though they're in solid bronze. Sadly, he took his own life in 1916, a lot of complicated reasons, but he left behind a lot of great sculpture, some of which we're going to have at the museum. In 1910, he built a Grand Prix car. Again, it wasn't very large, but it was light and fast and maneuverable. And then they segued into, as you pointed out, a really an interesting variety. The Bugattis didn't go from year to year with annual model changes. They would do a whole different, whole new design. I mean, a Grand Prix car might be followed by a road car, might be followed by a limousine. I mean, he owned the company. He could do what he wanted. Well, this is a baby car, Type 52, and Ettore built one of these, a prototype, for his son Roland, who was like 3 or 4 years old. And Roland loved it, of course. Any kid would like to have their own model racing car. And it was a type based on the Type 35, which is probably Bugatti's most successful race car. And Ettore realized very quickly that they could tool up and build these, and for wealthy French children. So there are photographs from the era of little races going on with boys and girls in these tiny cars. Maybe right. And at the same time, he designed everything from a pasta maker, his own design. He designed an electric car so he could motor around the factory without smoke and disturbing people. They were very self-sufficient. They had their own winery. They raised poultry. They raised animals. He had a dispute with the power company, so they built their own generators. And ultimately, he took the engines from the Type 41, the limousine, and they put them in these self-propelled French railway cars. So either 2 or 4, and they were called automotrices. They were literally a self-propelled passenger railroad car. And in the very late 1930s, socialism and labor movements in France were really out of control. And while he thought it would never happen, the workers demanded control of the factory. So he fled to Paris and still did work and designs throughout World War II. He worked on a one-cylinder car. He worked on an economy car. He rode around on his own bicycle because no one could really do it as well as he thought it could be done. So But he died in 1947. He had just become a French citizen. He was an Italian all his life. But because he was an Italian, the Germans kind of gave him a little leeway, and I think they did some projects for the German military. But he was allowed to keep his business. But sadly, in 1947, he passed away. Well, the name has been magic over the years. So a fellow named Romano Arcioli in the 1990s bought the rights to the name and built a 16-cylinder high-performance sports car for a few years. He went out of business. The Volkswagen Group bought the name, and today they manufacture a 260 mile an hour ultimate sports car Bugatti. So the name has never gone away.